I have always had a little bit of a soft spot for the Addams Family musical. And I think that mainly comes from the fact that I just kind of love the Addams Family. I think there is something about them that's so iconic, that kookiness and the creepiness of it, to, quote the song. And I don't think everything in the adaptation to the stage works, but what it does have is that comedy and that sense of celebration of everything odd and strange and what's wonderful about that. When I listen to different versions of Addams, when I saw the tour, it's always that sense of the family of it, that all of these characters are so strange and maybe do things that we're not quite used to, but they're so dedicated to one another, they're so together in that you can't help but love these characters. So when they announced that finally the Addams Family would be getting performed in concert on a West End stage, I was really ready. It's not one you would initially think of being a concert because it's not typically its music that is its strongest factor, it's its book and the wittiness of it. So I was interested to see how they would do it. So now that I've seen it, what are my thoughts on the Addams Family musical? Did it work in this concert staging? Let's find out. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie. I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do video essays, and if any of that's interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps at the channel. But let's dive in to the Addams Family musical in concert on stage at the London Palladium. Yes. Now, as we all know, when a production says in concert, you don't know what you're going to get. From the words in concert, you expect a concert. But that's not always been the case. Take Death Note, which was pretty much a full stage production. Take Bonnie and Clyde, which was pretty much a full stage production. But then we've also had things like Kinky Boots and Evita, which lent heavier into the concert staging of it. The Addams Family concert was pretty much a stage production. It was very clearly a simpler version of the touring show that was around in 2017 and toured around just after the pandemic. Was it 2017? God, that feels so long ago. Was it really 2017? I need to check this. Hold on. Oh my God, it was 2017. Oh, I feel old. And I'm not old. Yeah, where was I? Anyway. It's a much simpler staging than the tour, as they don't have the full set. They have a couple of set pieces, like the chaise lounge, and the backdrop from the finale and such. But it's a nice simplification that allows for what you can do in a concert. The adjustments to the actual book are fairly minor, so pretty much this was just a production of the full show. I'm glad that they went with this for Addams Family. I think if the focus was mostly on the music, I love the music from Addams Family, but I don't think that is the thing about the show that really sells it. It is a mixture of that music and the fact that this book has some really funny moments. And so with that clever choice in direction and staging of the concert, it allows the full image of the show to really be taken up on this much bigger stage than they're used to. And talking of the comedy of this show, this version reminded me just how funny it is. Some of my favorite moments are some of the gags in this show. The best one in the entire show is the gag about grandma, where Morticia goes on this whole massive rant talking about how she doesn't want to end up like Gomez's mother, only for Gomez to turn around and go, "My mother? I thought she was your mother." It's so good. In my head, this is an official part of the Addams Family canon. And I think a lot of the comedy that's based on subversions of expectations are really perfect to what the Addams are and who they are as characters. They are people who relish in the macabre and the darkness of things. So lines like where Morticia is wishing she could go to Paris and go to the sewers of Paris are fantastic moments in the book where the rug is just pulled out from under you. I don't think all of the jokes still land. There still remains a fat joke at the end of What If that just kind of feels a bit lazy, and honestly, especially in a production where the person who's playing Pugsley is not fat, kind of just feels a bit weird. And honestly, if this production does come back, it's a line that could be very easily changed. But on the whole, it really does keep the fun and the vibe of the Addams Family musical. My general criticism of the book has always been that sometimes, especially with the main conflict between the Addams Family, that it doesn't really understand what makes the Addams Family work completely. I think the general, conflict of the show is interesting. And I think it riffs off an idea because the Addams Family, as a unit, are all about family. They are family first and family last and family by and by. When you're an Addams, the standard answers don't apply. So in the back of my mind, in my gut, it does feel like a shame that a lot of this musical's conflicts come from the fact that it's the family kind of going at each other a little bit and keeping secrets, because that doesn't feel like what the Addams Family would do. But on the whole, the script is fun. The conflicts are interesting. I think it's always a recipe for success to give the Addams a normal everyday family to juxtapose themselves onto. And I like how the material still holds up in this concert version. But when you're going to see a concert, what you're really here for is the score. You're here for the music, and Addams Family has some bangers. I will not hear any Addams Family score slander in this comment section because I love the Addams Family score a lot. There are songs that are better than others. Yeah, sure, I'll give you that one. But when it hits, it hits. And I think there is a great novelty and a joy in hearing this music finally done with a very expansive band. It really does soar when all of the quirks and the trumpets and the different instruments all come together in this space. Honestly, out of all of the concert versions of previously done musicals I've seen, this is one of the ones where I was most overjoyed to see this score just fly. Because I think with the score, there's that quirkiness to it. There's that eeriness and kookiness that's perfectly Addams. And I think it just works 10 times better when you have so many more instruments on that. I think one of the greatest examples of this is that overture. I don't know music terms very well, so this is going to be interesting. But there's that one bit in the overture that's like the bum bum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba bum bum bum, and we have all the strings and the guitars and oh, it's so good. For that they pull out the electric guitars and it feels rocky and it's oh, it's so gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. We need bigger bands in musicals, please, because it sounds very good. Thank you. That is one of the things that a lot of people will shade these concert versions, but there is such a joy in hearing these scores played with much bigger bands than they would ever be able to tour or even justify being able to tour with. Beyond the overture, I think there are so many more moments in this score that just absolutely shine with this band and with this cast. I'll talk about her a little bit more later, but Chamiza, gagged. Great choices with this song. This is a song that is done a lot, and it's hard to find some good choices in here that haven't been done before, but great choices. There's One Normal Night that I've never really loved as a song, but oh my god, when we've got those guitars going, when we've got that clashing note with the ending, with that full orchestra, the impact of that song just really hits. Also, I don't know if it was just me, but in this version of the show, when they switched to touring it to the US, they added this song called Secrets, right? It's for Morticia, it's done with Alice as well. But in this version, in this one, they also had a verse for Alice that was a reworking of the song that used to be Morticia, I think. I think it's the song that used to be Morticia. That was normally, in the Broadway version, sung by Gomez about Morticia. But Alice sings it in this version about Mal. And I don't know if that was in the tour version. I can't remember. But I don't think that's ever been in it before. And I need someone else to clarify for this. Is this new? Did they add this for the Palladium? Is this a new version? I don't know. Because I'm pretty sure, looking at the lyrics that are online, I don't think this version was in the original version of Secrets. I can't remember if it was in the tour. I mean, normally Alice does Is Gomez truly devoted, never misquoted, always the paragon. And if he told you a lie, you'd whisper goodbye, then leave him to carry on. Forgive my terrible singing. But, like, there was a new verse. And I'm like, I can't remember this. So someone please tell me if this has been in it before, because I can't remember. Katie Lipson, tell me. You produced it, tell me. Where was I? I just got into a massive tangent. This is my reviews. You've never seen one before. This is my reviews. Aren't they great? Some other moments just quickly mentioning where the score just shines at the ending of Full Disclosure after waiting, where it's just a full-on chaos of the moment. Everyone's singing over top of each other. The score, selling that end of Act 1 moment. There's also the tango, which, oh my God, has never sounded better. If the joy of a concert is to hear the score done with a bigger impact, this version does that to perfection. Now, let's talk about this cast. Ramin, listen, my friend is obsessed, and I was like, I've never seen him live, so I don't really understand, and now I do. There was no one better. To play Gomez. He's so perfect for this role. He is like so devoted in his portrayal, but he also adds in like the sexiness. And I'm kind of here for it. Ramin Karimloo is just look, it's all of these fantastic songs that he gets, and he sells the hell out of. Not Today, his vocals in that are absolutely gorgeous. He sells the comedy as well. His timing is amazing. But it's also in a moment where they do the costume reveal and the sleeves rip off his shirt, and he just does the entire tango in like his shirt, but the sleeves are torn, so his muscles are out and all his tattoos. And whoever came up with that idea, the gays, thank you. Before I saw this concert, Michelle Visage as Morticia sounded like the perfect casting choice. And I think in a lot of ways, in her performance, she is a great choice. I think in her general persona, especially when we've seen her judging things on Drag Race and etc., she is like always the stern one. She's always got that sense of power, and that is channeled through her version of Morticia. I think that side of the character, she really does nail. She feels like she's always got the final say, which are very important elements of Morticia. But I think there are moments where she could have taken the delivery of some of the lines a little bit further and played with material a little bit more. I think these are sometimes things that do come with having a longer run in a show. And knowing that they only had a week to put this show together, these are things that probably just in the rehearsal room that she hasn't really had time to play with or find the correct delivery of to really sell the joke. For example, I don't think she takes the delivery of the Sue is a Paris line far enough. This is a show that kind of leans into the dramatic nature of it, and a little bit of melodrama from her would have taken her role just a little bit further. But honestly, I really enjoyed her vocal performance in this show. I think she does a great version of Death is Just Around the Corner. And when she gets to do her tango with Ramin, she proves that she should have gone further on Strictly. I mean, come on now. Chamisa Dawnford May is our newcomer as Wednesday. And oh my God, what a star. This is a star in the making. I would not be surprised if we see her back on the West End stage very soon. As previously mentioned, I adored her version of Pulled. There are some fantastic riff choices she made in the performance I saw, and she really held her own in this performance, as well as having fantastic chemistry with Ryan Coppell. Leslie Joseph plays Grandma in this version, and this is always a role that I feel like doesn't really get enough to do. There's some funny moments here and there, but it's very scattered. Really, she only gets like 2 speeches to really shine. She doesn't really get a big moment or a song to herself, especially because the touring version, both in the US and the UK, cuts the grandma reprise of Let's Not Talk About Anything Else But Love, which was the only singing moment that grandma really got. So it does feel like a shame that we don't get a little bit more of Leslie Joseph in the show, especially because I think she was pretty good in this role. I think she has some great comedic moments. I think she sold the performance. I think if there was just a little bit more, she would have been a true standout in this show. Sam Buttery as Fester. Look, when you tell me that there is trans representation in a show, I am there. I'm there. I am sat. And Sam Buttery as Fester was a fantastic choice. First off, their Fester voice is perfect, no notes. But then it's their presence on stage. They do a fantastic job making themselves known. And their version of Moonami is beautiful. Beautiful. So you get, when you cast trans people in your show, you get perfection. Ryan Kopel is Lucas, and whoever casted this, thank you. I feel like a lot of the time, casting directors misunderstand Lucas. Because I think Lucas works for very similar reasons why I think someone like Davey works in Newsies. You have to kind of sell to me why Wednesday and Lucas are such a good couple. Because the show doesn't always have enough time to really spend it on their relationship. You only really get to see their love develop in Act 2 in Crazier Than You. And I actually like Lucas being a little bit nerdier. I feel like pretty much normally you get like the musical theatre tenor in this role. Like the very pretty boy aesthetic. Ryan Kopel is fantastic as Lucas. He just has this energy. He always seems a little bit out of his depth, which is perfect. But what's really sold is that relationship. You can understand exactly why Wednesday loves Lucas and why Lucas loves Wednesday. And their version of Crazier Than You is probably one of my favorites I've ever seen. If I like a certain type of Lucas, I also like a certain type of Pugsley. I've never been a fan of casting adults as Pugsley, especially because if you don't hit like the right age range, it can feel very weird. And sadly, I feel like Nicholas McLean in this concept was a little bit miscast. I think Nicholas McLean gives a good portrayal, but on the whole, I don't think this is the role I would have put him in personally. But I feel like when you cast a little bit too old for Pugsley, they can often come off as a little bit whiny. And I think that undermines what makes Pugsley work. Nonetheless, a good performance from Nicholas McLean, who I do think brings a lot of heart to this role. Now let's talk about our returning cast members, who I'm going to group together, because I saw all of these performers on the tour. Firstly, Cara Lane as Alice. Perfection. Gorgeous. Fantastic. Phenomenal. Insert that clip of Lady Gaga here, where she's just going through loads of different positive adjectives. That's my thoughts of Cara Lane in this show. Just her version of Waiting is so powerful, and even more powerful when it's got that big of a band. Oh, I didn't think it could get better than the tour, but it did. She does that perfect switch, going from Alice to Malice. Sean Kingsley gives a nice contrast to the rest of the cast as Mal, and Dickon Goff just stretching every single bit of the comedy out of the character of Lurch, the deadpan zombie butler. It never fails to bring a smile to my face. As concerts go, the Addams Family concert works. I had a great time with this show, and I feel like it's because I always have a great time with this show. I think on the whole, the Addams Family musical has its flaws, but I think they're very easy to overlook because of how fun the show is. And because of how iconic and how much I love the characters that are in the Addams Family. I would love to see some of these cast members get a slightly longer run in the show to be allowed to find their footing in these roles. Because I think this show was extremely cleverly cast. And this concert reminded me how much I do want Addams Family in the West End. It feels like a crime that it hasn't had a run yet. But what do you think? Did you see the Addams Family concert? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. Here's some links to my videos on screen right now, and a link to my Instagram if you want to drop me a follow over there. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.